We're here to discuss the four hottest congressional races in New Jersey. I have Julie Roginsky and Mike DuHaime, who, as readers of the Star Ledger or NJ.com know, make up our team called Friendly Fire, discuss political events every week. Julie, a Democrat, and Mike, a Republican, have known each other all their lives and been on opposite sides of the battle lines, but they're good friends, which is why we started this feature. We wanted to have a civil discussion in America today. So it's quite an accomplishment. Thank you both for that. So let's start. There are four districts I want to look at. All four have been taken by Democrats from Republicans since Trump's election in 2016. And three of them were taken just in 2018 and one, Josh Carmeier, in 2016. So we're going to go through each one of those real quickly and get your take on them both. Let's start with the seventh. That's probably the hottest one, and it's the only one of the four that Cook Political Report rates as lean Republican. And that pits Representative Tom Malinowski against former state senator Tom Kean. It's a rematch of a fight they had 2 years ago, where it came down to the wire. A few thousand votes separated the two, and Malinowski won. But since then, there's been redistricting, and that moved about 5 percentage points in favor of Republicans. So Malinowski, that's why he's in an uphill fight, along with the unfavorable general conditions for Democrats this time around. So, Mike, why don't you start us off? What do you think about this race? What are you thinking about?
Sure, I think it's a fair. I think what you just said, Tom. I think it certainly leans Republican now. I think Tom Kean is likely to win this race. As you said, this district, moved about 5 points more Republican. And as people here know, it was a 1 point race last time. So all things being equal, that obviously is in favor of Senator Kean. I would also say the political environment is much different now. Tom Malinowski has only won when Donald Trump has been the issue on the ballot. He is not the issue on the ballot. Doesn't mean he's still not a factor, but he's certainly not the issue. 2018 was a referendum on Donald Trump. 2020, Donald Trump was up for re-election. Tom Kean still made it very close in this district. I think the fact that Senator Kean did so well last time, he's been elected and re-elected many times as a state senator in one of the more competitive parts of this district. I think this lines up very well for Tom Kean to win.
Julie?
I mean, I think everything Mike is saying is accurate in the sense that this is a much more favorable environment for Tom Kean because Republicans are just much more favored nationally than they were 2 years ago. In a presidential election, I also think, as you mentioned, that this is a much more Republican district now. Look, if this election were held with the district as it existed before redistricting, I would say that Tom Malinowski would probably win. But because it doesn't, as you mentioned, it makes him an underdog. I do, however, have to say that Tom Kean has been running, to some extent, an interesting campaign. I mean, he won't talk to the press. He won't take really firm positions on anything. I don't think that's a dumb strategy, by the way. I think it's the only strategy that he can have in order to succeed by not angering both the Trump base that he needs to come out, but also the more moderate Westfield, Union County part of the district where those people tended to vote Republican in the past, but have been so turned off by Donald Trump that they're now independents or sometimes even Democrats. So from that perspective, if I had to bet money on this, I would say that it's probably Kean by a tiny margin. But I also am old enough to remember, and I know Mike is as well, the 1998 election between Mike Pappas and Rush Holt, where everybody thought that because it was Bill Clinton's second midterm election, that it was going to be a disaster. It was right after impeachment, and everybody kind of thought Republicans would sweep. And not only did Rush Holt win, but also when the previous much more popular congressman, Dick Zimmer, came to run against him 2 years ago, Rush Holt beat him again. So it's not to say that these are completely analogous situations, but I do think that there is no question that Tom Malinowski is still very much in this race.
It might be a smart strategy, but it drives me nuts that he's not talking to the press or even stating his position on issues on the website.
Why should he?
What does that say about our political state of affairs?
It says that he's running a smart strategy. It's the same strategy, frankly, Chris Christie ran in the beginning of not talking to you, but going to Sean Hannity, which is where the Republican base used to lie.
I also think, one thing, in Tom's defense, Tom's been an elected official in this district and in the state for 20 years. I mean, Tom Kean has been in front of the press for decades, and he has defended his positions in the past. Right now, he feels like the best strategy is to go directly to the voters and not go through the filter of the press, who frankly want to talk about things like January 6th and other things that aren't about the future. true. So, I'll defend him on this. This is not like a guy who came out of nowhere and is spending, a bunch of his own money and in hiding. He's been in front of the New Jersey press.
But
for 20
Mike-
years. I think
but
people
Mike,
know
in
him, and he
fairness-
ran a campaign, 2 years ago as well.
But Mike, in fairness, a lot has changed in 2 years, and I think the voters deserve to know how he feels about certain
You act
issues.
as if, but I think everybody acts as if the voters only get access to information now through the newspapers. It's just not the same. It's just not the way it was. I mean, whether it's websites or social media or
Yeah.
direct campaign.
But who's
or
gonna hold him to it?
advertisements, voters get information lots of different ways now.
But who's gonna
Yeah,
hold him
he
to it?
hasn't- If I may, just from the press point of view, I feel I need to speak up. He hasn't taken positions on Twitter either. And he's not held any town hall meetings. It's not as though he's sending his message elsewhere. He's just not sending a message.
I mean, I obviously talk to the press here. So, I mean, I'm not, it doesn't say I'm lockstep with everything that he's doing, but it also doesn't mean he is not accessible to voters and talking to voters.